Well, we got a lot of folks want to jump in this conversation. It's 5:26 here at WHAT on this TGI Friday. Our Minister David Mitchell, is going to be leaving us ever so quickly in a matter of moments. So we wanted to bring him back to the mic to leave some final thoughts with us as we continue to talk about this movie that's got everybody talking, The Passion of Christ by Mel Gibson. And the guests who are in the studio, minus our minister, are all black filmmakers. And so I thought it would be very interesting to get their take on the movie and what it meant. And I also wanted to get some history on what kinds of films, to their knowledge, have been done that may have been about biblical times that many of us don't know of or never got to see because they didn't get the support or the $30 million that Mel Gibson had for his. But right now, let's turn that mic back over to Minister David Mitchell.
Thank you. One of the things that I'll share in closing thoughts is, as I shared earlier, this movie was not only was it inspirational for me, it gave you a clear portrayal of what Jesus really suffered, and I have to keep going back to that because that's where our faith lies, is what he did for us. Mm-hmm. You know, the fact that he suffered, that he died, that he rose again, and that's where our faith lies. That's where my faith lies, is in that belief that he lives. Because had he stayed in that grave, then there would be no following of Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. There would be no faith in Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he was, that he did rise again and that he is alive, is where our faith lies. And my encouragement to every person that's listening today is to actually go see the film. You know, don't get caught up in the fact that you're spending your money to support, quote unquote, a white man, but get caught up in the fact that you need to see this portrayal of what Jesus has done for each and every one of you. So thank you. Thank you
for sharing that with us. We appreciate it. Let's go to Donald in Feltonville, one of our wonderful listeners calling in to state his case or to talk about his thoughts and opinions. So, Donald, good evening. Thanks for your call. Hey, Donald.
Good evening. How you doing?
Good evening. How are you?
Oh, fine. I had the pleasure of going to the what they call the Middle East and to a place called Israel. And in there's a temple where they have the practicing Jews on one level and the Ethiopian Jews on the other level, which is the higher level, which they cannot go down and practice that same religion in. And another thing I wanted to put out was that Jesus was the Son of God, not Mary did not have consequences. She was still a virgin. She was, God implanted Jesus in Mary's body, so he was not a Jew. She was just the vessel of that particular faith or whatever, if you really look at it. And if you really want to know what color she was, all you got to do is look back into the book of Numbers, and it'll tell you her genealogy. And she was a dark-skinned woman, of course. But what gets me is, why is color a factor when it comes to one God? Because we all leave this realm. We're all going to one place, and I do not believe that God has a white, a black, a yellow, orange line only.
Absolutely.
You know, so why don't we get down to the basics and the fact of, look, we know that if there wasn't a Jesus, if there wasn't a Muhammad, we still had practices of faith, of religion or theology, you know. And I went to the movie. I went there with my sisters and my brother, and what we got out of it was that how he suffered, regardless of the color, regardless of the color,
exactly right.
You got the message, brother.
Yes, you did.
And look at what the devil does and did, not just to him but to his mother.
Right.
His mother was getting ready to deny him.
Right.
You know, so let's get down to it, and let's understand that we have a faith, and I know that my mother has wings on her right now because she was like practicing.
Right.
She practiced it, and brothers and sisters, and hey, you know, the word is forgiveness, it's knowledge. Yeah, we can get down to what color he was. That's irrelevant.
Absolutely.
Donald, thanks for your call.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Bye-bye. Yes, Larry?
You know, I agree with Brother Donald that color is irrelevant, and that's what we've been saying here all afternoon, that it's not about whether Jesus was black, white, dark, but I understand deeply how relevant race is to us as African Americans and to other people of other ethnicities and other races. There is a certain proprietary hold on certain beliefs, certain practices, certain behaviors that ethnic groups and racial groups hold to. But in this instance, what we're talking about is how a depiction and portrayal of events affects who we are as people. And the brother is right. Color is irrelevant.
Exactly.
Jesus was an instrument of God. And if we believe that, fine. If we don't believe it, it's fine.
Right.
The issue is, are we talking about it so that we can come to some satisfaction for us individually and as a people?
And I want to and I want to say this, Larry, as you leave, that faith is the substance hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. All right, and I certainly hope that that people understand that very well point. But there, the movie, right? The movie, to me, as I saw that film, it did reinforce faith. And what I loved that what Mel Gibson did in that movie is that previous to that, other films that have been made about Jesus Christ really gave us a very sanitized version. All right. So when he's getting whipped, it looks like, okay, he got a few little marks, and then he, like Mel said, he's hanging on the cross, and then, you know, it's very sanitized. But what I love that Mel did is that there's no way, whether you are a believer, a non-believer, a Hebrew Israelite, whatever, you cannot see that film and not be moved.
Yeah,
Yes,
I hear
exactly
you.
right.
Let's go back to our phone lines. Jason is up next, standing by in West Philadelphia. Good evening. I thank you for your call.
Good evening. How you doing?
We're well, and you?
All right. Good evening to your guests.
How you doing, sir?
All right.
Okay.
Just a couple points before I move on. Jesus Christ Superstar. There was a couple controversies about that. Judas was portrayed by African American Carl Anderson, who recently passed, both on the stage version, the original Broadway version, and in the movie version, which came out about 30-something years ago.
Right.
Also, there was a controversy in New Jersey back in the mid-'90s, in which a brother was pegged to play Jesus Christ.
Yeah, we talked about that, brother, earlier in the
Yeah.
show. You probably just tuned in.
Yeah, I tuned in recently.
Yeah, in fact, a guy named Jeff Hart talked about that.
Okay. In regards to the movie, I did see the movie. I didn't see it for the historical accuracies, but more so the Masonic symbolisms thrown in there. When I see a movie, I don't see it for entertainment purposes. I see it for, what are they going to throw at you? And there was a lot of Masonic things that was thrown at me. And in regards to Jesus' personal account, I'll say this. It's the truth, but at the same time, it's allegorical. And I'll give you a small example. When I was brought up, my parents always had a plaque of Jesus, the word Jesus, in the shape of a fish. And years later, I discovered that Jesus was represented by the fish, whereas you have the Virgin Mary. Now, you look into the zodiac, or the constellations, you'll see that the zodiac Virgo is represented by the Virgin, and of course, the direct opposite of Virgo is Pisces, which is represented by the two fish. That's all I want to say about that.
And remember, too, brother, that when Jesus was calling his apostles, he would go fishing for his apostles, and his apostles would go fishing for believers. In fact, Jesus said, "Follow me, and I will make you fishermen of men." So that's very, very accurate.
You know what? I've got to go to the roadways and get a traffic update. I've got some commercials as well. Jason, have you pretty much shared what you wanted to say with us?
Pretty much.
Okay, so
All right.
in other words, are you ready to hang up, or are you going to hold on and come back with your final thought?
I'm going to hold on and come back. with
All
my
right, it's
final
going to be
thought.
about a 4-minute wait.
All right.
Okay, let's go to the roadways. Mary Cantel stands by at 5:36.
All right, thanks, Thera. It's not too crazy a Friday night. It looks pretty good overall, but we do have our normal heavy slow spots. We are tight on the westbound Vine in the stretch between the Parkway and the Schuylkill merge. Once on the Schuylkill, traffic dragging there westbound between Vine and Girard. We're slow again further west around the curve and heavy at 202 with inbound delays at the curve, and then further east east on the Schuylkill, you'll hit congestion between 30th Street and South Street. 95 south, generally heavy between Academy and Cottman, and slow again in Delaware County on the approach to 476. And we see some slow going at the Commodore Barry Bridge. Area bridges, including the Walt Whitman and the Ben Franklin, doing fine, both into and out of Philadelphia. No major delays along mass transit. This update is brought to you by your New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Delaware area Jaguar retailers. Awaken all your senses and get behind the wheel of the new Jaguar X-Type. With all-wheel drive, you can lease one for only $299 a month. I'm Mary Cantel on 1340 WHAT, the voice of the African American community.
Listen Monday through Friday to the Bloomberg Urban Report. Now you can have financial news 3 times a day. 7 a.m., 12 noon, and 5 p.m. For the latest in stocks and trading information, tune in to the Bloomberg Urban Report 3 times a day on 1340 a.m. WHAT, the voice of the African American community.
Hey, it's Lobster Fest, and oh, the things we're doing at Red Lobster. Imagine this: succulent lobster, fresh asparagus, and tender penne pasta, all tossed together in our special creamy garlic Alfredo sauce. Well, why just imagine it when you can savor it right now? Lobster asparagus pasta with salad and fresh baked Cheddar Bay biscuits for only $10.99. Imagine that. The way we do the things we do, the way we do the things for you.
Elin Harris is the most successful African-American male author of all time. Now experience his writing live on stage and Not a Day Goes By.
Not a day goes by.
I cannot marry you.
Why?
Don't you think she has a right to know the lifestyle of the man she's about to marry? All y'all brothers that are on the DL, that's LD, dog, low down.
Hi, this is Elin Harris. Don't miss Not a Day Goes By, the stage play.
Not a day goes by.
Not a Day Goes By, starring Jack A of 227 and Sister Sister.
You don't give a black man options or multiple choice.
Trinice of American Idol.
Not a day goes by.
And comedian Gary Owens of BET Comedy.
What you really want from me? I should say it. Nobody's in my office. I could say that word. Nobody would ever know.
Not a Day Goes By. Philadelphia. It's coming to the Miriam Theater, May 4th through the 16th. Tickets are on sale now. Tickets available at the Miriam Theater box office and all Ticketmaster locations or charged by phone. 215-336-1234.
He wasn't too happy to hear it from me. But one day, I just took a deep breath and said, man, we got to talk about this. I thought he was going to kill me, but he's come around.
It takes a lot of guts to talk to your friends about their problems with marijuana or drinking, but it could make all the difference. Go to freevibe.com for ways to do it and tips from kids who have been there. Courage, the anti-drug.
Sponsored by ONDCP.
Now is the time to plan your vacation. Hello there, this is Mary Mason, and we're inviting you to join us on our annual cruise August 22nd through August 29th. We'll sail the Royal Caribbean's Adventure of the Sea cruise ship and journey to the Southern Caribbean. Ports of call include San Juan, Aruba, Curacao, St. Martin's, and St. Thomas. Your package includes round-trip air from Philadelphia to San Juan, 7 nights cruise, all meals and entertainment aboard ship. This is always a sellout, so get your deposits in right now. Call Rose Tours 215-533-5700. That's 533-5700. With prices as low as $1,399 per person, there's no reason why you should not join us this year. Bring your family, friends, co-workers, and sail the Caribbean seas August 22nd through August 29th. Call Rose Tours right now, 533-5700.
You're listening to 1340. 1340. 1340. 1340 AM. WHAT, Philadelphia. The voice of the African American community.
All right, we're back as we keep going on this Friday edition of our program. Jason's going to jump back in and make his final case in just a moment. But first, let's go back.
Yeah, I just want to make an interesting point. We were talking during the break with Kevin, and I think that the brother that's on the phone was making a good point, too, about symbolism. I thought another interesting thing about the film was that the character that played Satan was played by a woman. A lot of people don't realize that because the way that the actress portrayed Satan was very middle of the ground, almost like you really couldn't tell that it was a woman or a man. And what I got from that was that Satan could be anybody, could be anything. Doesn't matter. You know what I mean? A lot of times, a lot of people's opinion of Satan is someone running around in a red suit, with a
Right.
pitchfork in their hand.
Right.
I think Mel Gibson was trying to say Satan could be a woman. Satan could be any. You saw a snake in the film. You even saw a part, like even when some of the most heinous crimes were going around, you saw the satanic character moving through the crowd, even with a baby at one point, with a baby, disarming to have a baby in your hand. But when you saw the baby's face, the baby looked evil.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of times by what Mel Gibson did, he was just trying to show everybody, don't always take things for face value. Anybody can be, the people in your life that you meet, everybody's not going to be good. Everybody's not going to be bad. But you have to realize that everybody's not going to always be so cut and dry that you can figure them out
I get
at a
your
cursory
point.
glance.
Get your point. Let's go back to Jason and let him wrap up on his thoughts, calling in from West Philadelphia. Good evening once again, Jason.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Two last things before I wrap up. This is for the listening audience, particularly.
In 2 minutes.
Okay, in 2 minutes. Number one, Jesus, as well as the other figures, Moses, Muhammad, what have you. No matter what religion you follow, they represent man. And when I say man, I mean everyone, man, woman, what have you. They represent man with his or her faculties fully awakened in a divine state. Our faculties right now are asleep, and if some of them are awakened, they're awakened in a demonic state. I'll keep it at that. And number two, people need to connect Jesus Christ or Jesus the Christ with a man by the name of Yeshua ben Pandera. I'm going to wrap it up right there.
Thank you for your call, Jason. We appreciate your input. Let's move on to Dawood. Dawood in North Philadelphia. Thanks for your call. You're on the air. You there with us still?
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
I had a question and comment to make, but I think the person I would have addressed the question to may have left, the minister.
Yes, he had to leave.
I think it was him. I'm not certain. It's in reference to Jesus not being African, but a Jew. And I wanted to have him to clarify that. What did he mean by that? Because a Jew is one who practices what is called Judaism or the Mosaic Law. And an African is one who's born, or the original people, perhaps, of what is now called Africa. So is he saying that a African cannot be a Jew? I don't understand what he meant by that. Because certainly, if you would trace history, you would realize that Jew is not a nationality nor a tribal identity, but represent those who followed the Mosaic Law, as did Jesus, as he's popularly known and called.
Well, didn't Paul say that we are all Jews by faith?
Well, again, Jew is a religious practice, so anyone can be a Jew.
Well, that's exactly what Jesus said. That's exactly what Paul said.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
We all in agreement, beloved.
But that is not a nationality, nor is a tribal identity. It relates to one following the laws of God as handed down at that particular time.
See, one of the interesting things is that we're here to talk about the film. And
Well,
what I have noticed is that a lot of callers are calling who have not seen the film.
Yes. Well, I'm not calling about the film. I have nothing to say about the film. I have no interest in the film at all. Okay. And so that's not why I called. I
just wanted to make that clear.
Yes, but that's not why I called. And I was going to say that. I wanted to address my question to the person who said that Jesus was not an African but a Jew. Because I wanted him to clarify that.
Yeah, I understand. It's just like hold on. It's just like when Mary Cantel calls. She's not going to talk about the Passion of Christ. She's going to talk about the traffic. But we know that that's her job. So
well, I'm telling you why I'm not calling. They're going to have no interest in it. Period.
That's okay.
And in reference to the statement that color is not or insignificant. Well, I don't identify people by color. People are, because no human being has a color. They have complexions and various hues. But
you know what? And I understand where you're coming from. I've heard that discussion many times. I thank you for your call. I've got to move on. I would. Thank you for being with us. Let's go on to Sandra. Sandra in Logan, you're our last caller for this day for this program. Everybody get ready for the Johnny Sample Sports Show. He comes your way at 6 o'clock tonight. But for now, Sandra, good evening. Thanks for calling.
Hi, Dara, to you and your guest.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, I'm just so glad that one of the gentlemen said that color does matter to man, because it absolutely does. Because, see, I guarantee you, if this was an all-black cast, this movie would be out of the theaters right now, okay? Now, I want to say this also. I love the Lord, and I love reading the Bible. But one thing that's true about man, and God said this himself, man does judge on the outside, but God does judge by the heart. So I'm so glad that people are, not God, and does not have the final say in one's life. But I wanted to say, for me, I could care less if Jesus was orange, green, yellow, or gray. I know that Jesus, he did die for the sins of the world. And see, and I'm so often, people try to figure God out by their history, by man's knowledge and wisdom. But you cannot figure God out by that. You have to be born again, and you have to have the Spirit of Christ in you. And there are things you just cannot understand by human knowledge. And people need to understand that. And I do think that this movie is a good thing. And I just wish that people could think outside of races, because just like I said earlier, if this was a black cast, there would be white people as well as some blacks who would be appalled, So that's an unfortunate thing, but Jesus is Lord, and he loves every man, woman, child, boy, and girl.
Sandra, thank you for your call.
All right.
And you have a safe weekend and a positive one. We appreciate it. All righty, as we prepare to truly wind down on our program right now, I want to turn the mic back to Rel J. Dowdell, and if you would just share with our listening audience a little bit about who you are as a black filmmaker. At the beginning, when you first came on the show a couple of hours ago, you were talking about Esther Roll and how she, in her last days of life and in ill health, she made a decision to be a part of a film that you were making at no charge. She did it secretly so that even her agent didn't know about it till after she had gotten the thing started. But that was special. But tell us a little bit about some of the other things that you've got cooking or that you've already done.
Definitely. I'm always working on a new script, and I'm glad that you mentioned Esther Roll, because when she worked with me, that was her last role before she passed away. And she helped me when she was literally on dialysis. She was not well. But when we flew her here to be a part of the project, you would have never even known that she was sick. This is a lady we literally had to help. I literally had to help carry her to the mark. But once I said action, she was ready to go. I had her. She played the dean of the university in my film, and it just goes to show you how God works through people, because that film, I took out loans, and I had to take out loans and borrow money to make that film happen. But I ended up winning over $20,000 of prize money for that film. And
what was the name of it?
The film was called The Train Ride. It's been on HBO.
The Train Ride.
It's called The Train Ride. That short film has actually been on HBO during Black History Month for the past 2 years. And I'm working on a new film now, a new script now. But it just goes to show you that, God does work through people, and the Spirit lives, because some of the people that come to you in your life who help you are indeed benevolent.
Name some of the other films. You got any others that we can look for?
Film, yeah, definitely. I also did something on ESPN. Project I did on Daily Rivers with the ESPN. Like I said, right now I'm working on a new feature-length script.
How exciting.
So thank God for opportunity.
Thank you for sharing. Kevin Sheaff, every time I think about you and your filmmaking, I think about The Barbershop. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, you did The Barbershop before The Barbershop. Movie came out with Eve and the big name stars from California, Hollywood and all that. But you have how many films that you've done now?
I've done 9 films, and you've been very instrumental in helping me get recognized as a local independent Philadelphia filmmaker. 9 films, it's hard to believe, and I'm working on film number 10, a documentary called In Search of God and Religion, by the way, that features WHAT's very own Dr. Reggie Bryant.
Oh, wow.
Doctor. And so, Reggie, if you're listening, brother, get well soon, because I want you to be there for the world premiere. We're planning on premiering it September 11th. And it's a documentary. It's shot in the barbershop, like Barbershop Talk in Black and White that you made reference to, that deals with religion, the very thing that we have been discussing. That's why I called it In Search of God and Religion. We've got Hebrew Israelites, we have Jewish people, we have Christians, we have Muslims in a barbershop on a panel being grilled by Dr. Reggie Bryant, who mixes it up real well.
Oh, that
It's
sounds
an
like that's
explosive
going to be
piece,
awesome.
You know?
Well, you have to come back and let us know about. We have to spend another time just talking about things that you all have on the front burner, and you might be willing to share with listening audience, people who desire to do what you guys
like
do.
The Thea Martin
how do
Conley
you get
story.
it started? You know, how do you become a black filmmaker too? If people are interested in that.
Yeah, and I would love to do that. And you know, that would be a great documentary. Do a documentary on Thea Martin Conley.
That's right. That's right.
Because
Angela
Thea,
Bassett.
you are an
Right, right, right.
institution in broadcast.
Yes.
It's not easy for an African American woman to be around as long as you have. And you are a trailblazer, and you have been there. And yes, we have the legendary Mary Mason, but this station is really blessed to have not just one, but two great black women as broadcasters.
Angela Bassett wants to play you, Thea. How you feel about that?
Right. Tell her, come
She's
on
outside
with
here
it.
right now. She wants to come in here.
Shoot, absolutely. All right, listen, gentlemen, I thank you all for joining us. I got to get to my roadways and do our final commercials, and our time will be done.
Tell Mary I said
Cantel. Oh, Mary Cantel, my guest, say hello.
Hey. Hey, guys.
Tell us what the roadways look like.